Today we're going to talk about change over time in the Industrial Revolution, so get your pencils ready. As you know from your reading, the conditions for work was very harsh. Working long hours, 12 to 16 hours every single day, no health insurance, harsh, dangerous conditions, and often for very low pay. So how were things to get better? Unions were formed. These organizations were designed to get better conditions, better pay for workers. A strategy they used to help increase better conditions and better pay was strike. They would go on strike with the factory to try to shut it down. This was a great way to negotiate with those workers and the employers, a way to help them come to an agreement and to increase the benefits, increase the pay for the worker. Child labor became a very big concern, especially for middle-class women who started to seek ways to help the children. They started to hear about conditions that children were working under and living under, and they started to put pressure on Parliament, especially in Great Britain, to make changes, to make improvements for the children. The first improvement was called the Factory Act of 1833. Children who were under 9 years old would be mandatory sent to school to be getting an education. Ages 9 to 12 would be only able to work 8 hours a day, and ages 13 to 17, only 12 hours a day. As time went on, these factory acts continued. They made additional factory acts, and they even made mine acts. And over time, it gets better and better until eventually, guess what? Children under the age of 18, they no longer go to work. They're mandatory going to school to get an education to hopefully better their lives and have a brighter future. The cotton gin was one of those inventions that had a major social impact. This machine basically did the work the slaves did, and it cut down on the need for slaves on the plantation, especially over time. And the women who were also busy helping the children get out of the factories or decrease their work also got on board with abolition, which was the end of slavery, and this is a major movement. The women really, especially the middle-class women, were working towards this, and they had a victory, and abolition came to an end. After this, it also continued to inspire women to fight for their suffrage in the early 1900s. So this cotton gin not only transformed lives for working on plantations, but it also inspired two great movements, which is abolition and women's rights. The next section is the working class. Because there was a large working class, especially an issue started to be prevalent in society about alcoholism. Many people turned to alcohol when they were feeling depressed. Remember, the families are disunited right now. Some of them are working all different shifts. Even the children are working, and this was kind of a depressed time. So this movement started as a way to try to bring the family back together again. It's called the social gospel, based on the Methodist Church. What they did was they went to the tenements, which is the housing where most of the people and the factory workers lived, and they asked them to come back to church where they used to go. Now they've been working so hard that they're so tired they don't want to go to church on Sunday. But the Methodist people said, keep coming back to church. It'll be a great opportunity for your family. It'll be a nice way for you to reconnect on that day off of work. And not only that, your children can attend Sunday school. And at Sunday school, they can learn to read and write. And if they have access to reading and writing, this will give them an opportunity for a better future. So many people kind of got involved in this, and the return back to church started to slowly take place. The last section is poverty, because there's a huge working class and many people were struggling financially. So major reforms continued. So not only are they working for reforms for work, working for children, working for rights, but reforms in general. And some people started to come up with the question of maybe we shouldn't use capitalism anymore. And so they started to talk about and think about different types of government styles like socialism and communism, which we'll talk about in the next upcoming chapters. But for the most part at this point, no one was using communism and socialism until we see Russia will experiment with it in the next section.